So today's video is going to be a little bit different than my usual educational content, and I'm going to tell you the story about how I ended up playing a gig at Vancouver's premier jazz club on a $100 Walmart brand guitar. And in doing so, I'm going to tell you the story, and we're going to talk just a little bit about, whether gear matters or not. So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the jazz scene in Vancouver, Frankie's Jazz Club, run by the wonderful Corey Weeds, is kind of the place. If someone comes from New York to Vancouver, they're going to play at Frankie's. And when I was studying in university at Capilano University in Vancouver, I dreamed of playing a gig at Frankie's, which I've been very fortunate to play several times now. And to set the scene here, this gig was a part of their After Dark series, which is run by my good friend Tim Reinert, who runs the Infidels, which is both a incredible jazz radio show and an incredible record label, and he also books tons of gigs around the city of Vancouver. If you're ever in Vancouver, look up the Infidels and go see one of those shows and say hi to Tim for me. But he runs this series there called After Dark, which typically focuses on maybe the younger musicians in the scene, and it gives them an opportunity to do gigs that they maybe wouldn't in other situations. So the gig that I got to play there was a tribute to Julian Lage, where I transcribed a bunch of his music and I got to play it with an amazing band. It was a wonderful, wonderful night, but the story of this video is that I played it on a $100 guitar. So, how did that happen? About a year and a couple months ago, I made the move from Vancouver on Canada's west coast to Montreal in Quebec, some 4,500 kilometers away. And when I did that, I knew that my partner's family's all in Vancouver and my family's all in Victoria, so I knew that I'd be going back there for holidays and such, and I would be gigging there. And I was tasked with the idea of I needed to leave one of my guitars there. And the guitar that I decided to leave in Vancouver to play when I had gigs there, so I didn't always have to fly with a guitar, particularly around Christmas, flying with a guitar and stuff to get me through, 2 weeks on the West Coast would be a bit of a pain in the butt. And I opted to go with my $100 guitar that's a Walmart brand. It's called Rocker Music Tools, RG100. It's a Strat style guitar, which is also sometimes kind of funny to think for playing jazz, but I decided I would leave that guitar because it's relatively stable setup-wise and it has a really fat neck, and that's something that I'm actually very partial to. I love guitars with big, round, fat necks because I find it's easier for my hand. I think thin necks are silly, but that's for another video. And so I left this $100 guitar there at my partner's family's house in Vancouver so that I would have a guitar to play when I was there. So this first kind of gig on this guitar that I actually didn't buy from Walmart, I got it when my friend's uncle unfortunately passed away in high school, and she said, "Do you want this guitar?" And I said, "Sure." And it's, the electronics work, the guitar works, it's awesome. And leading up to this gig, I was kind of worried about playing my first gig on it. I was thinking like, did I make a mistake? Is something going to go wrong? Am I going to be able to play okay on it? And I got to Vancouver, I played the gig, and not once during that gig did I think, oh no, this guitar, I'm not being able to play what I want to play, and it sounds wrong. It sounded incredible, and I actually had one of my friends who's an incredible musician and is a record producer come up to me, and he was asking me about the tones and everything that was going on, and I got to tell him that it was, a $100 Walmart guitar that I got for free. So the music didn't suffer, I didn't suffer playing it, it was really incredible. I was really, really surprised, pleasantly so, that it went so well and it sounded so good. But it really kind of got me thinking about whether gear matters or not. And, I say all of this as a bit of a hypocrite because, of course, to my right here, I have a wonderful multi-$1,000 custom handmade arch top. And I have a beautiful Martin acoustic, and I have a fake Fender Strat that is by no means an expensive guitar, but definitely isn't cheap. So having these nice things is wonderful, and also, to be fair, on that gig I was playing through the house amp at Frankie's, which is a beautiful Fender Twin Reverb. But I also played gigs where I ran through my HX Stomp directly into a PA monitor on that trip back, so to be fair, it wasn't just the amp that was doing it, but it really made me think that a lot of the stuff that's incredible in music happens regardless of the gear. Yes, there's stuff that would make me more comfortable. Yes, there's tones that would be more appealing. But playing the Strat, I was actually amazed that I didn't feel weirded out at all by not having my sound. I didn't feel weirded out or that the guitar was letting me down, even though, again, like, this is seriously $100 at Walmart 10 years ago guitar. Obviously, I did set it up to my likings, but this guitar totally held its own during the gig. Not once did I stop and think, oh no, this isn't going well, whatever. And so, just so you can kind of hear for yourselves, and I wish I had better sound examples for you, but these two clips I'm going to show you were both shot on an iPhone at that gig. But take a quick look at these clips and tell me if you can hear that it's a $100 guitar. So I thought that those clips sounded really, really good. And again, when I was on stage, like, nothing pulled me out of the moment. I never felt let down by it. The sound was really, really good. And I just kind of got on with it and did my thing. And thinking back to those nights, I was playing with a great band of Winston Minkler and Todd Stewart. And everything just kind of came perfectly. Everything went off fine. The guitar did its job. It sounded good. And no one complained or was there was no downside to doing it. So really, it kind of blew my mind that, of course it's nice that I have all of the expensive gear that I have, and especially when it's kind of hard-won expensive gear and that I'm a professional musician, I don't have infinite stacks of money to throw chasing tones. It was really, really cool to me to see that this really cheap $100 Chinese-made guitar was 100% good enough for what I was doing. And it also just kind of further validates that, spending time practicing is, first of all, free, and also can get you the same results out of lackluster gear. I didn't feel let down by it at all. And it was just a really interesting epiphany, because as guitar players, and I'm guilty of this too, we spend so much time looking at videos of different gear and different sounds and all of these different things, or if we know that a guitar is vintage or that it has an original PAF in it or something like that, it almost tricks us into hearing, we're hearing with our eyes rather than with our ears. And even as players, yes, that guitar, there might be a couple sharp fret ends. It's not it's actually pretty light, thinking back. It's a pretty light guitar, but it's not an incredible instrument, but you can still do incredible things with lackluster gear. So it really kind of spun my head around, what to spend money on and what to worry about. And every time I, go too deep down the YouTube rabbit hole of watching gear videos and going, oh, if I just had that, or, oh, I stop and think about that gig and I go, it's really the music that matters. It's not the gear. And obviously you do need certain bits of gear to get certain sounds, but really, in today's day and age, you can achieve incredible results with really affordable equipment. And if you can play, you can make that equipment sound great and do what it needs to do. So I guess really that's kind of my story about how I played the Premier Jazz Club in Vancouver on a $100 guitar. And it made me think about whether gear matters or not. I'd love to hear in the comments if you have any experiences of your own where you've been surprised by a cheap piece of gear, if you've had similar experiences or anything like that, or if you think I'm totally full of it. I'd love to hear your experiences, whether positive or negative, with cheap gear. I'd love for you to like and subscribe to the channel for some more content like this. I also have tons of educational content out already that will continue to come if you're looking to improve your guitar playing. But until the next video, I'll wish you a good one, and I hope you get to have some fun playing the guitar. Thank you so much for watching.